Since Incredibles 2 is on all of our minds, I thought now would be a perfect time to point out Easter eggs in the first Incredibles movie. Now I know what you're probably thinking, I already made a video about everything you missed in The Incredibles. And this is true, but I read through every single one of your comments, almost 2,000 of them, and I did even more digging into the movie, and it appears I missed a few Easter eggs. So today we're going to be talking about everything I missed in Pixar's movie, The Incredibles, Part 2. Make sure you've seen part 1 first so you can celebrate in my Easter egg mistakes. Even with the mistakes though, it wasn't a bad video. Even Ethan liked it, and he doesn't usually like Easter egg videos. We're starting off this adventure with an Easter egg one of you found that I apparently missed. Mariah Esther Selva Cardenas, sorry if I said your name right, she says actually you missed one, so when Mr. Incredible and Frozen are rescuing the people from the fire, look closely at the fire truck, and it's not a random fire truck, it's actually Red, the fire truck from Cars.
Hey Tony, you play football?
Ah! Her head just disappeared! Okay, now here's an Easter egg Pixar pointed out. Back in Edna's office slash home slash mansion, we see drawings on the table of outfits.
Edna mode. And guess.
These are actually what you would call concept art, and it's actually from when they were originally creating the characters. Teddy Newton was the character designer, and he made these particular drawings. Some people think that Pixar waited too long before finally showing us The Incredibles 2. Some might even say,
too late. 15 years too late.
That's a knee slapper. Yes, this is a funny line, and even I used it in the past. But in reality, Incredibles 2 didn't actually come out 15 years later. In fact, it came out roughly 4,970 days later. Or 13 years, 7 months, and 10 days, but hey, who's counting? A few people would like to point out the fact that apparently I got the release date for Incredibles 2 wrong. Ian Skywalker says that even the Super Carlin brothers got the wrong release date for The Incredibles 2.
Jay, so I know The Incredibles 2 doesn't come out until 2019.
So what's the deal? Are we YouTubers slacking and not doing our research? Well, first off, I don't have to do research. Nerdy Nate does all my research for me. Second of all, you probably know that Pixar has a website, and if you go to pixar.com/upcoming, you will see future videos and their currently scheduled release dates. These release dates can change from time to time as the movies get closer to the release date. At the time of making that particular video, I did have the correct release date, and so did Super Carlin Brothers, and then Pixar went and changed it on us. I see most of you in the comments, like you Lily, understand that the release date was changed, but I figured now would be a good time to have a public service announcement so no Easter egg hunter gets left behind.
Go on without me. Just go.
A good soldier never leaves a man behind.
Speaking of dates, one thing that I appear to get wrong was when we see Bon Voyage.
Bon voyage.
It's true the movie Incredibles was released in 2004, several years before Ratatouille was ever released back in 2007. So as far as we, the audience, you are correct. Bon Voyage was in Incredibles first, which would mean Bon Voyage cleaned up his act and is now a street performer in Ratatouille. Not that he was a street performer in Ratatouille then turned to a life of crime in Incredibles.
Oui, cette nuit est complètement ridicule.
But my thought was that he was a street performer first and now he's a criminal, because with all the fancy technology that's in The Incredibles, it appears Ratatouille was set in an earlier time period. But so many of you who corrected me on this, I decided to prove my theory right. There are a few clues that hint Ratatouille took place in an older time frame than Incredibles did. Anton Ego did his work on a typewriter, which is a much older piece of equipment than Bob's computer that he worked on in InsureCare. Or another example would be in Ratatouille, they had old spin dial phones, while Ellen Parr had a cool push button phone. Or black and white TVs were super old in Ratatouille, but in The Incredibles they had the power to record and even had security cameras. Another example would be all the fancy jets. And this is why I thought Ratatouille was in an older time frame than The Incredibles. And I was just gonna leave it at that and be like, poof, there you go, I win.
Hail the conquering hero.
But then I thought, that's not good enough.
That's not good enough.
So I decided to go on a week-long journey to find evidence of when Ratatouille and The Incredibles actually took place. The Incredibles was super easy to figure out. Most of the movie takes place in 1962. We know that because Bob Parr looks at a newspaper and the date on the newspaper says May 16th, 1962. And if you rewind just a little bit, they tell us this took place 15 years after catching Bon Voyage. So when we see Bon Voyage in The Incredibles, it's approximately May 1947. Confirmed. So then what about Ratatouille? Until Pixar confirms when Ratatouille takes place, we have to look at the clues in the movie to see when Ratatouille took place. So the first thing I did was to look at the newspapers and try to find a date like I did in The Incredibles. The problem was, at least for my TV, I can't read the font where the date would probably be. But the newspaper we can see just says Wednesday, late edition. They specifically didn't put the date in there. After no luck and in desperation, I looked to see what the internet thought, and all I could find were people saying Ratatouille took place in a contemporary period, basically meaning early 1900s.
Well, that's not very specific.
So next I looked at billboards, posters, anything to hint to the date. And then I found Alfredo Linguini has a calendar on the wall. And we can't exactly see the year though, but we can see the month. It's clearly September. Useless, right? No, not really actually. The first of the month starts on a Sunday, so that means the year has to be 1935. Or 1940, or 1946, 1957, 1963, 1968, 1974, 1985, 1991, 1996, 2002? Okay, I think we get it. The calendar was no help. Then I found Gaston's last will and testimony was made in Paris on the 23rd of June 2007. But hang on a second, I think this was actually going to be an Easter egg to the movie's release date because the movie was released on June 29, 2007. And we already know release dates can change a little bit here and there. Now we're talking just a few days. So then I kept on digging, and then finally I found it. When Skinner's going through the mail, we find the answer is in this little green stamp. From 1993 to 1997, roughly, it cost $2.70 to mail a letter. And then in 1997, this specific stamp was made. So this is proof that the movie actually couldn't be dated any older than 1997. That would also make sense to why Alfredo would have last year's calendar of 1996 on his wall, since he doesn't really have his life together. So until Pixar comes out and confirms exactly what day Ratatouille was released, I'm going to guess it took place in 1997. Wait a second, does that mean no matter how we look at it then, the first time we see Bon Voyage is in Incredibles, not Ratatouille? It seems so.
Okay, Minion, you were right. I was less right.
This next Easter egg though, we don't have to guess on. Pixar confirmed and I missed it.
Hello?
Bruce from Finding Nemo no longer has to worry about fish being friends, because he's dead. Mr. Incredible caught him one day when he went fishing, and here's a picture to prove it.
I can honestly say that it never, ever, 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 ever occurred to me.
Actually, this next Easter egg, a few of you found it. The fighting robot from Toy Story 2. When we're back in the office of Al's Toy Barn in Toy Story 2, keep your eye on this Rock'em Sock'em game. When Bob is in his office, we can clearly see Rock'em Sock'em on the shelf. Speaking of Toy Story, there was another one that someone thought I missed. In Toy Story 3, the Jack-in-the-Box says, "New toys!" We can see a Jack-in-the-Box made it into the short Jack Jack Attack. They are both Jack-in-the-Boxes, but I don't think they're the same Jack-in-the-Box. A lot of you mentioned you saw A113 in the scratches at the beginning of the movie when it says Pixar Animation Studios Productions number 5080. The Incredibles reel. And I remember looking at that a long time and didn't remember seeing A113 scratches, so I had to run back and try to find it again. And would you believe it? Look at this, it does look like A113. But let's stop a second and look extremely closely at it. It says 1AB at the end. Now I'm not sure what 1AB means, but as much as it looks like the flash of A113, I'm sad to say it's not. CJ Taylor thinks near the end of the movie with the Underminer, Mr. Incredible opens his shirt just like Superman does. This could be a shout out to Superman, but I feel it's a common thing that a lot of superheroes do, so it's hard to say if it's actually a reference to Superman or not. And Minnie Kitty says there's a McDonald's logo behind the Underminer. Now I know McDonald's has some pretty good french fries, but I don't think this is an Easter egg to it though. But I'm gonna give you an A for imagination, and let's put a little McDonald's in there anyways. Speaking of imagination, a lot of people think I'm wrong about Mickey being in the cave. Some think it's a fake Easter egg. So here's the thing, I thought it looked a lot like Mickey, so I outlined it with what I thought Mickey was. I learned a lot about how to point out Easter eggs since then, and now I mainly circle the spots or make a flash of red like in Meet the Robinsons, but here's the original version of what it actually looks like, and here's how I think Mickey fits in the spot. You can clearly see his nose and mouth and buttons on his shorts and even his shoes. Now I know this one's a stretch and you don't have to believe it's an Easter egg, that's fine. And looking back at it, I don't know what I saw either. But either way, Disney admitted to more outrageous ideas being Mickey's before. Remember, this coin's a Disney confirmed Mickey? So I do legit think this could be a Mickey, but we don't know till Disney confirms or denies. But they'll probably deny. But if you follow my show long enough, here we only try to find real Easter eggs and stop fake ones from spreading. Some people doubt my Iron Giant one though, because Iron Giant is Warner Brothers.
Chindia Golf 9er checking in.
Like Jedi Master Ken Jen thinks I'm crazy for thinking that. Hopefully by now we all know that you can have Easter eggs to other movie companies, though it's not as common as Easter eggs to your own movies. Now Kirby321890 thinks IG99 stands for Inspector Gadget from 1999. Now that sounds really good since Inspector Gadget came out in 1999 and it's also a Disney movie.
But Go Gadget, it sounds so...
However, I still think it's a reference to Iron Giant and not Inspector Gadget. The reason is The Incredibles was directed by Brad Bird, and you guessed it, he also directed Iron Giant. It appears Buddy might also have an Easter egg up his sleeve as well. When he drops the bomb into the water to kill Mr. Incredible, the bomb looks very much like Mr. Incredible's logo. It's possible Incrediboy, just like Jack Sparrow, was saving that shot for someone special.
10 years you carry that pistol, now you waste your shot.
This one we can know for sure was a real Easter egg. Pixar called this one out themselves. When Elastigirl's on the phone asking for a jet,
what do you got that's fast?
If you pay close attention to the picture frame in the background, you will see they are wearing Hawaiian shirts just like John Lasseter. But they are also Pixar themed to Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo. So some of you often ask me, how do you find so many Easter eggs? And then some of you often say, how do you miss so many Easter eggs? Well, that's the fun of hunting for Easter eggs. Imagine it like this, if you will. If Pixar gave us a word search and said, try to find all the hidden words, but we don't know how many words are hidden in the puzzle. So how do we know when we found them all? And some words we find aren't even the actual words on the list. Sometimes Pixar tells us where a handful of them are, but they're never going to tell us where all of them are. So the puzzles may never be finished.
What idiot designed this thing?
Which is kind of like how Walt Disney imagined Disneyland. If you found an Easter egg I missed, tell me, I want to hear about it. But if you're nasty in your comment will be deleted along with your idea. Also, don't be mean to the people I mentioned in this video or that suggest Easter eggs for future videos. We all love the same movies here.
So play nice.
Here's your bonus Easter egg confirmed by Pixar. Of course, I call it product placement. In Buddy's room, this is a remote control car that they actually made and you can actually buy at a toy store. But probably not Toys R Us. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't done so already, go watch Incredibles 2 while it's still in theaters so you can experience it and tell your kids one day, I saw that in theaters.
Thank you, young man.
Subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure, and remember, most importantly of all, gents and gentlets, share a smile, they are contagious.
Hey, share a smile, they're contagious. Can you imagine a day without smiling? Whew, that would be outrageous. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with Crazy Nate. Make sure to leave a thumbs up if he left you feeling great. Have fun and we'll see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe.